Hey guys, and welcome to this tutorial video for a multi-destination minecart station. I am Jingle87, and I'm going to show you guys today a design that I did not originally come up with. I just want to give proper credit. I know that there are many versions of this out there, so I don't know if this is the person who originally came up with it, but Kalmir is actually the one that, the video that I watched in order to kind of get me started on this design. He is definitely the one that showed me how to actually configure all of the minecart tracks so that they would work to have an ingoing and an outgoing destination at the same time, as well as how to wire up the station so that it switches the tracks. So I'll give props to him, and I know there are many other people who've probably also done it as well. But I actually just took his design and flipped it on its side, reversed it, and made it so that you could have even more destinations. And I wanted to show you guys that configuration as well as show you guys how to wire it up no matter which direction your station is oriented, because you end up running into problems if you don't know exactly what you're doing and how to troubleshoot it if your station is oriented in a north, south, east, or west direction. So I'll explain exactly what I mean in due time. For now, let's go ahead and go into the video. I'm going to show you guys step by step how to wire up this station, and then how to configure your tracks so that you can have ingoing and outgoing multiple destinations, and you just push a button at the beginning to select which track you want to leave on. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, I'm here in my creative world to show you guys the first steps. I've just got it's kind of my test world where I test out things and build things, so I'm just going to show you guys how to actually go ahead and build this. To start with, you're going to need an 8x8x2 hole, so that's 8 wide, 8 long, and then 2 deep, and that's what we're going to need to start out with. And right now what I'm going to do is, actually the reason it's kind of 8 is because on the side here you're not going to fill this up, but you're going to want to be able to walk beside it in order to kind of see down the line for the wiring and actually go through. So I'm going to go ahead and do this step by step. I'm going to show you just each section one at a time, just kind of systematically, so that you can see how the wiring works, and I'll kind of try to explain as I go. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get started here with step 1. The first thing we're going to do, I'm just going to temporarily place that there, is I'm going to actually build a wall. This wall is going to be 3 high. Now the wall will continue along the side here, kind of like so, but that's going to limit our access to the wiring, so I'm going to get rid of that just for now. I'm just going to include this first line here so you can see that that's where that goes. And I also want to leave it above here because I'm going to need to be in this space to walk alongside and actually get at the wiring somewhat. So we'll just kind of leave that like that for now, and we'll adjust it as we go too. So then you want to actually take the wall, keep it 3 high, that's the minimum that it needs to be to cover all the wiring, and just keep building it along. And for this one, because we're going to actually do 5 tracks, so I'm going to have, this is the end of the wall, and then I'm going to take my buttons and actually place my buttons here. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buttons, like so. And those will be 5 destinations. So if I click that button, then destination 2 would be the one that we go to. Or if I click this one, it would be destination 4 or destination 5, and so on. So that will be how we select which track actually switches further down the line, and that's what we're ultimately going to be wiring up here. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off the wall here so we have it on both sides. And that's going to be what the facade of the wall looks like from the front, just like that. Pretty simple. That's just about it. Now we're going to actually go beneath. Oh, before we do that, let me forget, I'm going to place redstone torches, 1 above each button, but 2 blocks above. Because in the middle here, you can actually just place a sign or whatever you want here to indicate what the name of the destination is, like I have done in some of my worlds. Alright, so now let's go down beneath, and I'm going to just use lime wool to represent where we're placing our wiring. Again, you don't have to do that, it's just a block. Any block will do. You could use dirt, stone, whatever, but I'm going to place the lime wool right here, and again, just 5. 1 for each button, 1 for each track, and they correspond to the 5 with the torches and the buttons as well, so it's got to be in line with that. So that's exactly the placement where it needs to be. And this will represent 1 line of wiring for each. So this line right here will be 1, and it'll go back, and then I've got this line over here that's going to be 1, and it's going to go back, and so on. And they're going to alternate with redstone repeaters and redstone dust so that they will keep separate, and that's pretty much how we're going to make it work. So, speaking of redstone dust, just going to go ahead and place 1 down on each one of those blocks, just like that. Now, the purpose of this line of redstone, which we'll see later, is basically kind of like a control or a reset. I don't really know a better way to explain it other than just to show you once we finish it later. But what you need to know about this is that anytime a button, one of these buttons is pressed, it's going to light up that entire line of redstone. Any one of these buttons, because they're over it, that lights up that entire line there. I don't know if you could see that quick enough or not. Yeah, that whole line just lit up. So every time the button is pressed, I need to be able to activate the entire line of wiring, because further on, what we're going to do is actually invert every redstone signal except for the one that we want, and it's going to power that line of wiring, that signal, for the button that we push. So that'll make sure that every one of the tracks that we don't want to be turned will remain unturned, and the only track that's going to turn is the one that we need to turn, which would be the one that we selected, which is the button that we selected, so our destination. So that's kind of the general logic behind this. That's pretty much it. That's the first step. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the next line of wiring, this next row right here, just in a second. Alright, so for the next step of wiring, what we're going to actually do is we're going to be on the bottom level here, and we're going to take repeaters. And the repeaters are going to have to face away, so the direction that the wiring is facing, towards the tracks, towards the switching. I'm going to just go ahead and fly here so that I can place them easily. If you're not in creative mode when you're doing this, which on the servers that I built these on, it has not been in creative mode, so it's a little bit more difficult. You have to jump up and then place it before you can place the repeater, because you can't place a repeater on a block that you're currently standing on. So if you take care of that, then you should be good to go. So just like that, 5 repeaters, 1 for each line, and leave them on the default position. You don't need to click them anymore or anything like that. Just leave them on this first default position. All right, and then we're actually going to, you can actually continue and just place, oh, well, you don't want to do that. I'm going to go ahead and place my lime wool just like that. There we go, that's what I meant to do, so that it alternates. So I'm going to put more repeaters on this one. Now on this line, the repeaters that I placed down, oh, I had one too many there. The repeaters that I placed down on this one, I want to actually move them by 2 ticks, just like that. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, just like that. So all of the repeaters should be the same, and they should be looking like that. They should be in that position, and again facing outward. And that will continue to make the wiring work as it should. And again, just bear with me as we go here. We just need a little bit of a delay on this one because of the way the wiring works, because this is the one that comes from the button. So this is the one that when you press it, it activates the button. And it's going to activate on that line of wiring right there. And next, you want to place another row of lime wool or whichever block you choose. That just happens to be the one I like to use because it's nice and easy to see. And now you want to actually, this is the one that's going to feed into these redstone torches. So once everything's been wired properly, this is going to indicate which button you pushed, because when you push one of the buttons, that torch is going to be lit up to indicate that that's the track that's currently selected, and all of these other torches are going to turn off. So if I were to click this middle button here, then the middle torch would be the only one that would be powered on, and the other ones would turn off if everything is wired properly. And that's also a good way to test your wiring once you've completed everything, just to make sure everything's working properly, because if that is what happens when you press the button, then chances are you've done something right. So for this last line of wiring, the one that actually goes into those torches, we want to actually alternate our redstone and our repeaters, and the repeaters are going to face towards the torches. Now for the redstone, it honestly doesn't matter too much whether you do redstone, repeater, redstone, repeater, redstone, or if you do repeater, redstone, repeater, redstone, repeater, as long as they're opposite. But for my video, I'm going to start with redstone and do redstone every other, just like that. And I'm going to do repeater again on the first setting, alternating just like that. So for my video, if to make it simpler and easier to follow along, if you start with the redstone in that section, then you won't have to do the opposite of everything else that I do out here. You can, I mean, if you want to, go for it. It doesn't really matter though, either way, whichever one you do, just as long as you stay consistent down the entire line of wiring. And this is also important to know because this design actually makes it very easy to expand. So right now I only have 5 lines of wiring, so I have 5 different tracks, 5 different destinations that I could go to. But you could very easily add another line of wiring to this and kind of just extend it onward. So if I wanted to, I could, of course, repeat everything else down below, but then I could place another line right there and place a repeater just like that with another set of buttons and torches and all the wiring and so on, and just continue on. And now I have 6 tracks that I can go to. Or if I want to go crazy, I can get 7. Or, hey, even 8. It doesn't really matter. You can just put in as many as you want with this design. You just have to know that you need to alternate, and that the wiring that you follow down each line has to mimic the wiring. So for this one, it has to be exactly like the one that starts with redstone. And you'll see once we finish the rest of the steps, again, bear with me because at the end you'll see it all. And the ones that start with redstone repeater, they all have to be exactly the same too. Everything will alternate once you get down here. Alright, hopefully that's not too confusing. Hopefully you're still with me here. Bear with me because we are about to get into the next line of wiring. And let's go ahead and do that right now. Alright, so this line is really simple. Nice, easy. So we're just going to take another row of blocks here and place a torch on each one, just like that. And then we are going to take another line, just like that. And guess what? Place a torch on each one. Don't worry about whether these are on or off at this point in time, because once you hit the button, it actually activates the whole line of wiring and resets everything. So just place the torches and move on. Everything will sort itself out later once we get everything wired up. And the last step, you can't forget this step because it does help to transmit the signal through blocks, is that you place a block, another line of blocks, just like that. So that's it. Very simple, easy step. That's what the wiring looks like. Just like that. Alright, you guys ready for the next step? Okay, here we go. Okay, so this next step is slightly more complicated, but it's not too bad. I'm going to go ahead and explain it to you guys right now. Now, remember back in this line of wiring right here when I told you you needed to alternate redstone and redstone repeaters? It didn't matter what order you did it in, but if you want to follow along exactly in this video, then you would do redstone on the outside, and then a repeater, then redstone, then repeater, then redstone. Alright, so now you want to do the opposite of that on the bottom level in this line of wiring. So for this first one, we had redstone here. Now we want to put a repeater facing backwards, facing back towards the buttons. And then, of course, we want to alternate, repeat that pattern. So repeaters there, and then we want to have redstone here. Okay, alternating just like that. So now we have opposites. You guys see that difference there? Awesome. Now, for the next step, you want to actually do a line of blocks just like this, all the way along. And now you want to do the opposite again. So right here, you want to place redstone, redstone, and redstone. Now, instead of doing a repeater here, you want to actually place a block and then another block. Now, this next step up, you want to actually place a block here, alternating, just like so, and then you want to place redstone and redstone. So just like that. That's how the next line of wiring will look. So you've got alternating the repeaters and redstones from the opposite pattern of how you did it up here in that first row there. And above that you have a solid line, and then you place redstone above each repeater, place a block above each redstone from the bottom, and then place redstone and blocks alternating again on that last row. So that's the end of that. The next step is pretty short and just kind of goes along with this one. I'll show you guys that right now. Alright, so for this next step, again, it's really similar. We're going to actually take redstone and repeat or alternate what we did in this first line. So I place redstone next to each one of these repeaters, and then I place a repeater next to these redstones. So at the end, it will look just like this. And again, you want these all to be on the default setting. You don't want to click them at all like that. You want them to be just on their default initial setting like that. and all facing back towards the button. So that's pretty much it. Now for this next step, you want to actually place a block above each one of these repeaters in this second line there. And then you want to take a redstone torch and place it above each one of these lines of redstone. Or another way to think of it is you place the redstone torch on the side of the block that has this redstone from this line. Same thing. So now that you've got that, the last step is you want to actually place redstone on top of these blocks, like so, and that connects the redstone back up to the torch here. And these redstones connect back up that way. You can start to see this coming together now. But we have one last step, one more line, one little apparatus that we need to do to conclude the end of this wiring. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that step now. Alright, so for the final step, you want to actually grab some more blocks. And I say final, well, that's really the final step of this section of the wiring, this self-contained wiring system. So you want the blocks to be just like that. Now on top of the blocks, you want to continue the redstone wiring from these steps down in both of those locations, or if you alternated it, it would be on the other three. But you know what I mean. Just go ahead and continue that wiring down from the lines that it corresponds to, like so. And for the last step, you want to place a redstone torch on the other side for each one of these lines of wiring. And that's it. You're now done. And the way that you can actually test this to see if it's working, what you want to have happen is that when you press one of these buttons, remember how I said the button that you press is going to actually light up the redstone torch over here? Just like that. Okay, we know that's working. It turned off these other torches, and it just turned on this fourth redstone torch right here. Now let me go back over to the other side and see what happens. Hey! The exact same line of wiring has the redstone torch turned on at the end of it, and all the others are also turned off. And you can see the line of wiring over here. Everything is powered coming into each one of these other lines, except for this last line. It's powered off, which of course inverts the signal and turns the redstone torch on. Let's try this out with another one. Let's go ahead and click the middle one. Alright, so I click the middle button. Now the middle torch is on, and if we follow the wiring over, okay, everything should be opposite, and it is. Now all these other lines of wiring are powered going into it, which turns each of the redstone torches off, because if you power a block that has a redstone torch on the other side of it, then that redstone torch will turn off. But if you leave that block unpowered, as pressing this middle button has done through the wiring that we just set up, then it makes this redstone torch actually be powered on. And we can go ahead and hop down here on a little access tunnel on the side and see what's going on here. So again, that's that first line of wiring that when I press the button, it actually, because I'm pressing a button above any one of these redstone dusts, it powers the entire line of redstone, which then powers each one of these lines of wiring that we have now set up. And the ones that are inverted get the signal that I send it. So if I click on this second button right here, now I've got this repeater turned off and these other four lines turned on, which continues to turn off this torch, turn off this line of wiring, and power on this torch. And all the others are now off. And I can do the same thing with this button. So you guys get the idea. That's how it works. That's the end of this system. Now, moving on into the next step of the wiring, the whole logic behind how you want to actually exploit this to be able to use it to turn tracks is when you have a curved track, if that track goes like this, if you have redstone underneath it, powering it, it'll actually turn it so that that track, if there's another one next to it, it'll turn it so that the track then goes in the opposite direction from what its default position is. So right now this is its default position, but if I were to, let's say, go underneath here, if I can get in there, place a redstone torch underneath, just like that. You guys can see that I placed that redstone torch there and it's powered. It turned the track just like that. Now if I were to go and get rid of that redstone torch, it goes back to its default position, which right now is this. That's the logic that we're actually going to exploit in order to use this to control which tracks face what direction. We're going to have a complex system of rails set up that actually feed tracks out from a central departure station, which would be right over here. I'm going to have a track coming out this way and going around over here, and then feeding carts out. And you guys will see once I show you in the next step exactly how that track needs to be laid out to actually work. And then once we get the track laid out, we're going to actually dig underneath over here, and we're going to actually make some wiring adjustments as well, so that when we have all the wiring set up over here, and let's say we had this line with the torch powered on, we're going to use the wiring that comes out of that to go over to a certain track over here and power that track to be the one that's turned. All the other ones will be in the default position, and the tracks can pass, and the carts can pass over them without turning, something like this in that direction. Alright, I'm going to stop talking now and I'm going to actually show it to you. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into that.